It was reported earlier this year that Russia destroyed the Chersonesus in Sevastopol, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. They are in the process of erecting vast new buildings on the site of the archaeological remains. Since the occupation of Crimea in 2014, Russia has been systematically destroying historical sites. It's alleged the invaders moved many archaeological artifacts to Russia, and indeed, there are reports that museums on occupied Ukrainian territory have been completely looted. Eveline Kravchenko, an employee of the Institute of Archaeology of the National Academy of Sciences, stressed in a speech at an expert forum that Chersonesus in Sevastopol is a UNESCO heritage site of world importance. The ancient city of Chersonesus was founded in the 6th century BC and was one of the local centers of Hellenic civilization. In 2013, Chersonesus was included in the UNESCO World Heritage List. The authenticity of this monument is likely lost forever, as Russians erected in its place a new open-air theatre and cathedral in honor of the Moscow patriarch and former KGB agent. During the construction, it's believed that some archaeological findings were transported to museums in Russia. In 2015-2016, developers obstructed views of the archaeological remains with observation platforms, towers, walls, and columns. Later, they erected an open-air theatre on the site of the ancient citadel, which imposes a load of approximately 1 ton on the original structure. A significant portion of artifacts discovered during the process were, of course, transported to museums in Russia, including frescoes, pottery, household items, and icons. Subsequently, construction began on an archaeological park, apparently called New Chersonesus, at the site of remains of the necropolis. Russians ignored the geology and archaeology at the site and began to remove the soil on the territory with standard excavators. Somehow, they dug up an ancient spring, which flooded everything, Eveline Kravchenko explained. On one part of the site, in place of the ancient settlement, Russians erected the Cathedral of St. Vladimir, which was consecrated by the Moscow patriarch. Chersonesus Taurica is an ancient and unique historical monument. Research has revealed the plan of the site. The city's layout was designed by architect Hippodamus based on a grid of intersecting longitudinal and transverse streets that form blocks. It is the only monument in Crimea of global significance. Chersonesus was a democratic state that attracted philosophers, scholars, and researchers. It also held an important trading position on the Black Sea. During the Byzantine Empire, it remained a significant administrative and trade center, becoming one of the main centers of Christianity in southern Crimea. Since the early 2000s, until the occupation of the Crimean Peninsula, Ukrainian researchers proposed creating an archaeological park to preserve not only individual sections of the polis, but the entire area. The Russian plan is far more extensive, intrusive, and in the construction, it seems that much less care has been given to preserving the fabric and authenticity of the historical site. Is this just carelessness, poor planning, and execution? Well, it's more likely that this was deliberate. The imperial chauvinism that characterizes the attitude of Russian governance sees its culture as the heir to Rome and Greece, but in many ways superior to its antecedents. The need to put its stamp of power and control over territories it has conquered overrides any concerns about the value of what came before. Indeed, if the hand of Ukraine can be detected, then the Russian mindset shifts towards cultural genocide, the need to exterminate any hints of a culture that challenges its supremacy. There is now an imperial-style theatre on the site of the archaeological remains, a domineering and extravagant edifice that erases any sense of the historical context. Since 2014, massive looting has taken place in Crimea, including cultural items and paintings of the Crimean Tatar people. Russian occupiers allegedly leave Crimea with cultural valuables, and over 1,000 such artifacts from Crimean museums were taken to Russia between 2014 and 2020. Over 500,000 items from the Crimean Museum entered Russian museum catalogues. In addition, over 12,000 monuments of Crimean history and culture were added to the State Registry of Cultural Heritage Objects of Russia. It is reported that illegal archaeological research, including underwater, is being conducted without sensitivity checks or the presentation of results, such as in connection with the construction of the Tavrida Highway to connect the Kerch Bridge with Crimea for Russia's military occupation of the peninsula, which led to the destruction of important Muslim burial sites. Eveline Kravchenko explains in May 2023, information emerged for the first time. Golden artifacts from Chersonesus were taken out and illegally exported from Crimea for a museum exhibition. Russia not only destroys and loots, but also appropriates, presenting these artifacts as, quotes, genuinely Russian. The world must know the truth, she said. Just as our Scythian gold was returned to Ukraine, so will other treasures of the peninsula be brought home. Justice will be restored. This is already happening within the framework of the ECHR, where the Ukrainian team continues to defend our case, Kravchuk emphasized. UNESCO announced earlier this year that 412 Ukrainian cultural heritage sites have been destroyed since the beginning of the full-scale invasion of February the 24th, 2022. Russia's behavior, not only as an aggressive neighbor, but also as an imperialist looter, needs to be appreciated. An example of the worst manifestation of historical European imperialism and colonialism. Russia not only seeks to dominate and conquer, but also eradicate that which it cannot control or safely relabel as Russian. To call it the magpie of civilizations would be being charitable. It's closer to ISIS in its destructive behavior and impulses.